Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today is part 2 of my collection videos where I share my top 3 products from each category. So today is going to be all of my eye products and then my lip products. Now if you watched part 1, which I'll link down below, I mentioned in my intro how I had already recorded most of the video and it was just way too long. No one is going to watch that long of a beauty video of mine. Like it was an hour long almost. So I had to stop recording and then I redid my intros to say how I'm going to be breaking the video up. So because I am breaking the video up, I apologize. There's going to be kind of like a weird transition in between the parts because normally I just record my videos straight through with no cuts, no edits. So it's usually just one smooth video. But because I did have to break things up, it is going to be a little not as smooth. So I apologize for that. So let's go ahead and get started on part 2. Okay, next would be eyes. Eye primer. There's only 2 that I use. The NYX glitter primer. I use this one if I'm using glitters or anything like really shimmery that's going to have a lot of fallout. And then I've gone through a lot of eye primers in the past and I never liked any of them until I found this one. And this one I love. This is the Ulta Matte Eye Primer. It's matte, but it does not dry my eyes out. It doesn't make them crepey. It holds my eyeshadows. It's just, I love it. It's oil-free, fragrance-free, paraben-free. I love this. I already have another one. I bought the second one over a year ago because I thought this was empty. It was getting really hard to get out. But then there's still this much left. And so I've been using this one for the last year thinking that it was done a year ago and I'm still working on this one. So hopefully the new one that I haven't even opened yet hasn't expired. Hands down favorite. This is the only primer that I really need. Let me just show you mascaras, but obviously mascara would be the very last step that I would do after eyeshadow. The 2 that I use currently for my lashes, not my lower lashes, my upper lashes, Essence Bye Bye Panda Eyes. I got this one off of Carrie's recommendation. I really like this one. I like that it has kind of like more of the old school style brush and not the weird fancy like brushes that everyone has been doing lately. I like this one. It doesn't seem to really flake. I do enjoy this one. This is my first one, but I would repurchase. Now my favorite for my upper lashes, this is the one that is just my favorite. I've repurchased it a few times. This is just the old school Maybelline Great Lash pink and green tube. I remember this being in the drugstore when I was a teenager. I never used it back then because I didn't use makeup back then, but this is just my favorite. I love the old school, very simple brush. I just love this. This is a mini because when you buy it, I see it a lot of times where it's like the full size and then the mini. And then I had the mini open because I think I traveled with it. And then I'm just using up the mini. I love it. It's simple. It's natural. I prefer a more natural eyeshadow look and I love it. And then the one that I use for my bottom lashes, this is the AOA Studio Skinny Under Lash Mascara. I don't wear under eye mascara a lot, so I honestly haven't used this in quite a while, but when I do feel like wearing under eye mascara, this is the one I use. It's got a really skinny brush. I like it. It doesn't flake and it's like $1, so I just pick this up whenever I'm getting new sponges. Okay, let me show you lips. Lips actually is the last step that I would do. After I do my eyeshadows, I do my lipstick, but I wanted to save eyeshadows for last. Okay, so I broke this up into 2 categories. I picked 3 formulas, and I had to do formulas. I couldn't just pick like one shade. So I did 3 formulas that would be more like opaque lipsticks, and then I did 3 that would be more like sheer gloss type formulas. Okay, so the first one, which is new to me. I've only been using this formula for a year, but I love it. It's probably, let me show you that one. Well, it's my favorite. This would probably be my number 1. I'm showing you out of order. That would be MAC. I only started using these a year ago and I love them. I get mine from Marshall's, TJ Maxx, like places like that, and they're only like $7. Last year, MAC had a Christmas sale and they were like 20% off, so I bought a bunch then as well. So for me, for each category on the formulas, I have to have a mauvey, pinky nude, and then I have to have a red. So I don't really wear a lot of lipsticks outside those 2 shade ranges. I don't use pale nudes. I don't like bright pinks. I don't really wear a lot of dark berries. I just like mauvey pinks and reds. So the two mauvey pinks that I wear the most are Faux. Really nice. At first I thought this was going to be too nudie on me, but I really love it. And then the other one is Hey Frenchie, and this one is Love Me lipstick. So they have different formulas. They have matte, they have satin, they have all different types of formulas. This one I love. This one is just like perfect rosy mauve. Okay, and then for my red, I chose Ruby Woo. Look at that. So beautiful. This one is in matte. And it's a comfortable matte. I don't really like to wear matte lipsticks alone. I usually put some kind of gloss on top. But the formula is really nice. It's not drying and it's beautiful. So if you wanted to wear matte, you could definitely wear this matte. Okay, then the other formula. This is my third favorite. This one is, I only have one because I only own one. This is the Flower Beauty lipstick, and this is in the shade 035 Spice Petal. This is just the perfect Your Lips But Better for me lipstick. The formula is beautiful. It took me a long time to get a hold of this. Flower Beauty used to be sold at Walmart, and then at my Walmart it's not there, hasn't been there for years, and then it's sold at Ulta, but I could never find this at Ulta, and then they discontinued, I think they discontinued Flower Beauty altogether at Ulta. Or if not, they just never had lipsticks, and then it was always sold out on the website, and I was looking every time I would look on Ulta's website, I would look for this lipstick, and it took me 2 years for this to finally be back in stock on their website, and I got it. Love it. This is just beautiful. Okay, then the other formula is going to be Sephora. What are these called? I don't know what these are called, but it's these ones that come in their silver bullet. These ones are so beautiful. These have a very emollient, creamy formula, but they're opaque, but it's, hi, my puppy. They're just so beautiful. I love them. They're creamy, they're beautiful. This one would be my Rosy Mauve. This one is in the shade L19. And then my red is L10. And this one is just beautiful. These ones do have more of like a glossy feel to them, but they're opaque. Okay, and then we have more of like, the second category is more like sheer glossy type formulas. So the first one I have is my Nivea Blackberry Lip Care. This is more like a balm. It's like a chapstick balm, but it's got coverage, and this is beautiful. I love this one for when I'm just doing like a very natural look, or like when I go out to Disney and I don't want to wear like full-on lipstick that I have to like maintain, but this will give me more like a chapstick type feel, so I can hydrate my lips, but also has color, and I love this one. Okay, then we have the L'Oreal Color Riche, and this one is in the shade 904 Varnished Rosewood. I have a couple other ones. This is the one that I reach for all the time. I love this one. This one is like a sheer lipstick gloss hybrid. It's beautiful. You do have to reapply it frequently because it is very emollient, but I love this one. Okay, and the last one would be a gloss, and this is the Fenty Gloss Bombs. The two that I wear the most are Fussy, which is the one that I wear the most, and then the second one that I wear is Sweet Mouth. And I only ever have the minis because I buy them when they come in like little kits. And these are so pretty. I love them. I love the formula. They're not sticky. They're a little bit sticky, but they dry down really nicely, and they're just beautiful. I love them. They're glossy. They've got like little shimmers in there, but it doesn't look sparkly, and I really love these formulas. Okay, so now we're going to get into my favorite part. Eyeshadows are my absolute favorite part of makeup. I love eyeshadows. It's just, I love them. Now, this was very hard. Not hard necessarily to pick my 3 favorite brands, but hard to narrow down which palettes. Now, the reason it was hard is, number one, I depot my shadows, especially the ones, my top 2 favorite brands. They are magnetic and they very easily pop out of their cases. So I pop them out. I put them into different palettes, I reorganized them, I rearranged them. So it's going to be hard for me to show you my number one palette because it's not physically in its original palette, but I will pop the pictures up on the screen so that you know what I'm talking about. Okay, so I'm actually going to show you my third last, which you'll see why when we get to there. My second favorite formula is going to be Natasha Denona. Now, I didn't want to just share with you formula because if I just kept Natasha Denona, I would keep all my Natasha Denona palettes, and that's kind of cheating. I know I did that with lipsticks, but lipsticks are a little harder to do. But for this category, I did want to kind of break it down into my actual favorites. I had a hard time picking my favorite palette that I would keep from Natasha Denona. A very strong contender is the Glam palette. I love this palette. It's so beautiful. It's predominantly cool toned. It does have kind of like some more warmer shades, but it's predominantly cool toned. It's got really beautiful mattes. By the way, if you're looking at this wondering why it looks different, because like I said, they're magnetic and they pop out, and I always rearrange my palettes. So I did keep this one in its original packaging just because for ease of use, and I really like it in its packaging. This is so beautiful. I love it. The mattes blend out nicely. They're beautiful. They're pigmented. The shimmers are beautiful. She's got special formula shimmers. Some of them are more intense and they just sparkle, and this is just really, really beautiful. So this one is one of my top contenders. And then the other for Natasha Denona that I have, I've actually depotted them all. I have the minis. I have 4 of the minis, which I'm not including in here. But the full-size palettes, I have the Glam palette and then 3 other palettes of hers that I've depotted, and I put them all into one giant palette. I do have them in order of palettes though. So the first one from here all the way to here is the green brown palette, which is beautiful. I love it. It only has 1, 2, 3, 4. It only has 5 mattes and the rest are all shimmers. And then the second one, starting from here all the way to here, is the Biba palette, which is really lovely. It's just a bunch of mattes and then a few, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 it looks like. Either satin, but they kind of act more like a matte, which is why I put them in with the mattes. And then the third palette is from here all the way down to here, and this is her Trio Chrome. So these are just beautiful. I love them. I love having them all in one big palette, and they're just beautiful. So to pick my top of Natasha was either going to be the Glam palette or it was going to be the green brown palette, which again is from here all the way to there. I ended up going with the green brown palette just because there's a lot more variety as far as shimmers. You've got all of these. You've got that soft champagne gold. You've got beautiful pops of gold. You've got that rose gold. I've got that bright gold. You've got some bronzes. There's this really interesting like sparkly bluey silver, and then this one is like a silvery green, and then I have some greens. There's just a lot more variety with the green brown palette, so I chose that one as my number 2 palette. So my number 1 palette, my number 1 formula is Viseart. Now Viseart, their palettes, again, like Natasha Denona, they're magnetic. I depot them all, I rearrange them. My number 1 palette that I have is in a double-sided Adept, and this is my Viseart palette. First of all, like, just look at this. This is, I love this. If I could just choose one palette, I would just choose this. But again, this is a bunch of different palettes into one. They're not in any kind of order except for these top 2 rows. The top one is the Viseart Neutral Mattes, the mini ones. They just recently came out with mini ones. And then the second one is the Cool Mattes. Everything else is just rearranged in order for neutral side, and then my pinks and my purples. And I have another palette of theirs that is like rich jewel tones. I didn't include that one here because it's not going to be in my top favorite that I choose anyway, so I just didn't bring it in. So the one that I decided to go with, and I will insert a picture because it's scattered throughout this whole palette and also in the jewel tone ones. I ended up going with the Grand Viseart Pro 1, which is their huge all matte palette. It's got, I don't know how many. When I pop it up on the screen, you can see how many are in there. Maybe I'll pop on the screen how many, I'll count it and I'll show you how many shadows are in that palette. But I decided to go with the all matte palette. So the all matte ones are basically all of these bigger size matte ones. Some of them are in here, like these pinks, some of these purples. Some of these are also the bigger size ones. Some of them are also from their Theory ones, so it's not necessarily every single big matte that you see. Some of these are from the Theory. But I decided to go with that one because it just has every matte that you would need under the sun. And their formulas, Viseart is hands down my favorite formula. I love them. They're pigmented, they blend out easily. It's a pro brand, minimal fussy packaging. They don't have big bulky packaging. They pop out. They're just beautiful. I love the formula. I would absolutely miss their shimmer formulas, but that's why I chose the Natasha Denona Green Brown palette as my number 2 because it has a lot of shimmers in there. So hands down, my favorite formula is the Viseart, and I would choose the Grand Pro 1. Now the third palette that I would pick isn't really my favorite brand. In fact, this is the only palette that I have of them. But the reason I chose them is because it has very special shimmer shadows. So this is the Northern Lights palette by Simply Posh Cosmetics. And it is just 12 specialty duochrome type shadows. Absolutely beautiful. They're all duochrome, they're sparkly, they're gorgeous. I would I have other specialty shadows like my Cleonida, my JD Glow, but they're singles, and I wanted to choose a palette. So I chose this palette because it's just a palette of specialty shadows. They're beautiful, they're sparkly, and they're just special. And I would use this in conjunction with my Viseart mattes, and then also with my Natasha Denona. Absolutely beautiful. If I could only choose 3, those are the 3 that I would choose. Now, I did want to mention some honorable mentions. First one is an actual single brand, and that is Lorac. Lorac is beautiful. I love their formulas. Their new palettes depot. Their old ones don't. Their old ones I had to depot using a heating tool. I did that a long time ago. The ones up here on top are their new ones that easily pop out. This is a couple different of their palettes that I've depotted and put into this Viseart one. And then the ones down here are a mishmash of their Pro 2, which was the cool tone gray in the gray packaging, and then their Pro 4, I believe, which was their kind of like berry ones. And I depotted them both, mixed them up, and then when I their new ones depot easily, then I depotted them all and put them all into one palette. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. So this is an honorable mention. They also have these little minis that are so beautiful. These ones don't depot, but these are so beautiful, and these are perfect for traveling. This one is Mystic Oak. So pretty. Look at that. So pretty. And then Winter Rose. So between these 2 for traveling, this is all you would need. And I did travel with these during Thanksgiving, and it was all I needed. And when I travel, I don't fuss around with makeup too much. I do very minimal makeup, so these are perfect. So Lorac would be an honorable mention. The next honorable mention is not a palette, but it's just a concept, and that is my indie single shadows. So I keep all my single indie shadows. Not all of them. I have some more in other palettes, but this is like my big daddy in a double-sided Adept palette. So I have my greens and purple side, and then I have my purple side. So this is a combination of Divina, which I would say is probably my number 1 favorite indie single shadows. It's got my Sydney Grace, which I really enjoy Sydney Grace. It's got some Looksy Beauty, and then it has those are the three predominant for indies. And then it's got a few other, like maybe like 2 or 3 shadows from other various brands. But Divina, Sydney Grace, and then Looksy Beauty are the 3 that I have the most of. And this is just so beautiful. I love my indie singles. They're just amazing, and the quality is so good. I never buy them full price. I always wait till they have sales, because like Divina, it's $5 a shadow, but she every year for Black Friday has, I believe it's Two Sisters. I believe the brand is Two Sisters. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure it's 2 people that have a brand together. But every year for Black Friday, they have 50% off. So I will make a wish list throughout the year, and then I will just get whatever I feel like getting at the end of the year. Now, honestly, I didn't partake this last year because I've already got every shadow by them that I really want. But they just are beautiful. Divina has beautiful mattes. They blend out, they're creamy. And then their like shimmer shadows are just gorgeous. And then, I don't know, I love my indie singles. So if I could only save, like if the house were burning down, and obviously this is just hypothetical, obviously I would, save my family and my pets and, like important documents first. Like makeup would be the last thing I think about. But, just for fun, if I could only save one thing, I would save my eyeshadows. I wouldn't even worry about the rest of my makeup. I would just save my eyeshadows, and I would for sure save my singles, my indie singles, and I would for sure save all of my Natasha Denona and all of my Viseart. Those would be what I save. All right, you guys, that was the end of part 2. I'm going to record a part 3 where I do a get ready with me using my number 1 product from each category. So keep an eye out for that. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye. This is the Viseart Brand Pro 1. These are swatches. Okay, and these are swatches, some of the swatches from the Natasha Denona Green Brown palette. Her metallic shimmer formula is just amazing. I only did 3 of the mattes. Okay, these are all the swatches from the Northern Lights palette. This palette is simply stunning. This palette does sell out. I had to sign up for the email alerts, and then as soon as she emailed me that it was back in stock, I went on there and grabbed it. I want to say this is either $35 or $40. Absolutely worth every penny. This palette is truly a stunning palette. Like, look at those shifts. Absolutely amazing. Even if you just want one specialty palette, this is all you need. And this is with Flash.